mana regeneration or making some of the skills cheaper to cast. And then there is items. You get mana regeneration and items. The goal here is that players will choose a mix of different avenues to supplement their mana regeneration. So one Witch Doctor might decide to use a number of skill runes as their source of mana regeneration. Others might rely on gear. Another might take passives. Some Witch Doctors might actually do all three and go way overboard. Now the question is, will that Witch Doctor who just puts everything in the mana recovery have unlimited mana? And the answer is actually yes, because we want lots of customizable builds. The Witch Doctor who decides they don't want to have to mess around with mana and overloads on it will probably sacrifice some offensive ability or utility to do so, but will at least get to play in a way that's fun for them. Unfortunately, a lot of this play isn't really evident in the beta. The passives just start to kick in at level 10, a lot of the gear doesn't have a lot of mana regeneration on it yet, and the skill runes aren't in yet, so you won't see any of that. So from level 1 to 10, before any of this gameplay really kicks in, we basically make mana unlimited and free, because the player hasn't been given the tools to overcome a shortage of mana yet. I'm going to talk about the passives. We talked about Fetish Sycophants earlier. Another new passive on the Witch Doctor is called Circle of Life. Circle of Life makes it so that whenever an enemy near you dies, it automatically summons a zombie dog. And what's really cool about that is you don't even have to have the zombie dog skill trained. If you have the passive Circle of Life and an enemy dies, and there's a chance that the zombie dog comes out. If you take the zombie dog skill, then you get to add runes, and the passive will benefit from that as well. This particular Witch Doctor in the video took both Circle of Life and Fetish Sycophants. So using only 2 passive skills, she actually has quite a big pet army with her. Moving on to the Monk. One big concern in the beta is survivability of the Monk. We've been working on particularly during the early levels. During our internal testing, we actually find the Monk has a lot of good survivability later in the game, but that's only when a lot of the skills have unlocked. Early on, Monks were having a hard time. So we've been doing very targeted, focused changes on certain of early combo skills, like Fists of Thunder, does a small bit of knockback on the 3rd hit now. Long reach is slightly longer in its reach. All these sorts of things are just kind of micro adjustments that help improve the survivability of the Monk. The other area that we've been looking at is mantras. A lot of players understand that the fundamental concept is that it's a buff that's on yourself and others, but there wasn't any really good decision point as to when you were going to push the button. So for the first 3 seconds after pushing, turning on, activating your mantra, the effect of the mantra is actually doubled. So for example, if you have a mantra that increases the damage taken by all enemies near you, at the time that you push the button, now the effect of that mantra is doubled, and you can actually unleash some of your high cooldown powers, 7-sided strikes, stuff like that. And finally, we've been taking a hard look at combo attacks. Spirit generators, like I said, we use those terms interchangeably. In this case, we had some players who said they just want to have one spirit generator and they want to spam it all the time. And then we have other players who say, well, actually, I really like the idea of combining the two. And so that's been kind of a delicate balance, trying to support both styles. I mentioned the passive earlier. So we've been really looking at changing the timing, changing the structure, to basically make it possible to combine them, but not mandatory. And finally, with the Demon Hunter. For those of you who don't know, the Demon Hunter is based around a dual resource system of both hatred and discipline. Hatred is an offensive resource, and discipline is a tactical resource. We're moving over to a system of using both hatred generators and hatred spenders. The idea is that really in the beta, you're always out of hatred. You're like shooting, you use up all your hatred, and then all of a sudden now you have to use your normal attack again. And that just wasn't very fun. So now we've divided up all the hatred skills. Some of them generate hatred. Those tend to be more utility-oriented skills or plinking skills. And then we have hatred spenders. These tend to be your big bombs or have extremely strong effects. Another area that we've been looking at for the Demon Hunter is snares. The Demon Hunter is a ranged class, and we really wanted to make sure the Demon Hunter had tools to keep enemies at range. We considered adding additional root, and we've used that in small amounts, but we didn't want to give the Demon Hunter too much stun. That's not really part of her kit. So in this case, we've strengthened all of her snares. Just like a couple percentage points, but it actually makes a huge difference, and when you're actually playing, you can really keep those enemies at bay. Finally, we've been cranking up the awesome on all of the classes. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes we're really happy with the mechanic and how something's playing out. Maybe we like the mechanics and the numbers of how our skill works, but for whatever reason, it's not delivering on the visceral fantasy. And so we've been working a lot with our technical art department to basically amp up the visuals, amp up the feel, amp up the effects, so that the skill still functions mechanically the way we want, but has a lot more appeal.
Are you guys ready to talk about awesome? You want to hear about awesome? That's all I care about.
Awesome is awesome.
Let's get these words off the screen. Oh, it's more words. Okay, so kick-ass gameplay is more than just a great idea or a great mechanic. Really, to be pushed in the stratosphere of pure awesome takes a synthesis of the two. So today I'm going to walk you guys through a mausoleum of ideas that didn't quite make the cut, and the things we've done to give them a spark. First up is the monk. So one of the cool things that came out of our brainstorming sessions was we wanted the monk to incorporate some kind of temple aesthetic into his skills. And we prototyped something here which is pretty awesome. It's basically the monk summons a huge temple and collapses it on his enemies, which is totally sweet. I think it's sweet. But it has some gameplay issues. It's too confusing. Each pillar requires a click. It takes up a lot of visual space on the screen, so we simplified it. Here we go. I'm going to cast it on a spider. Oh, there it is. All right, so basically it explodes automatically. It's a lot easier to play, simpler to use, easier to understand. Doesn't take up as much space, but still kind of gets through some of that temple aesthetic that we were going for. So next up is the Demon Hunter. We knew that we wanted some kind of companion for the Demon Hunter, and there's a lot of ideas about what that could be. You know, a raven, which I think is the unruined version of his skill, is definitely one of them. Maybe a wolf. But we also tried some crazier ideas, like a floating skull. I don't know. Whose skull is that? It's friggin' huge. I guess he bites enemies. That's a bit magical. It doesn't really seem to work. We also tried a floating sword. I love floating swords. They're awesome. But on a Demon Hunter, it doesn't really seem to work. You know, it's kind of more arcane. I could see a wizard having a floating sword that floats around and like smashes enemies. So we replaced it. We went with something a little more basic, a little bit more corporeal. We went with like a bat. I guess he bites enemies and like sucks their blood for you or something. I mean, it's pretty sweet. It's got some shadow stuff on him too, so it's a little bit more in the physical realm. It's something I would expect a Demon Hunter to have following him around, slaying the allies of hell. We also gave him something a little cute. I love these little guys. Oh, little ferrets. That's awesome. I'm gonna call that one Bitey. I love ferrets. So some ideas are just awesome right off the bat. They go in the game, they're totally sweet, and you don't really have to do much to them. This is called Call of the Ancients, which summons the Ancients from Diablo 2 to come in and slay enemies on the battlefield for you. You love it, right? I love it too. When I first joined the project, Julian Love described it to me, and I was so excited, just flipped my desk over. Pencils and everything are just going everywhere. So, love this skill. You know, it's not just hero skills that need to be awesome, it's also monsters. I mean, monsters have got to be awesome, so you feel more awesome for slaying them. So first up is the Goatman Shaman. Picture here, you're going to kind of see that he has a lightning shield, which he casts on himself, and when you hit him when he has a lightning shield on, it does damage to you, it returns damage. It's a great mechanic, it's a great idea, but if a shaman could really only do one thing, what would he do? When I imagine myself as a shaman, I think, fury of the elements, savage, bestial, chaotic, smothering my enemies in an avalanche of frost, consigned to an icy grave. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, hit him with the frost. Oh, you died. It's an upgrade, it's more awesome, I don't know. Alright, so, another monster we have, this guy shows up in Act 2. He's a rockworm. He's definitely not not inspired by a desert-themed sci-fi universe at all. So get that idea out of your heads. Don't even think about it. So this is our first implementation, which is pretty cool. He has a cool intro, but he's kind of like a lot of other monsters we have. So we wanted to spice it up. So now what he does, still bursts out of the ground, but if you're unlucky enough, he's actually going to catch you and eat you. Yeah, spit you out. That's what I'm talking about. That gets my blood boiling. All right. GG, guys. That's all I got.
Ow. All right. So we've talked about, some skills. We've talked about some items. We've talked about the auction house. Let's talk about all the stuff that's going to kill you. So there's 4 difficulty levels in Diablo 3. Normal, Nightmare, Hell, and Inferno. You progress through those in a kind of linear order. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these. Well, more about normal and then more about Inferno. So normal is kind of our tutorial. One of the things that at Blizzard is our general philosophies is we don't like kind of standalone tutorials very much. We don't like, showing up and having like somebody show up and give you a wall of text that you have to read. We just want you to go kill stuff. We want you to learn how to play the game by playing it. So as a result, kind of the early part of Act 1 is pretty easy. So monsters have really low awareness. They're not very aggressive. They won't really kind of attack you very, very kind of seriously. They don't attack very fast. They have a tendency to stand around. They're a little ADD. They have really, really limited abilities, especially in Act 1. Like, it's really uncommon to see even a ranged monster in the first act. So each act is really designed to layer on more challenges. And we literally kind of bucketed all our monsters into different categories, like ranged and kind of proximity AoE and distance AoE and area denial and all these different abilities that they can do. And then we kind of gave them a rank score of what we thought was most difficult and kind of progressed those through all the difficulties. So in the later acts, you get into kind of more responsive monsters that are much more aggressive, much faster, and also have a whole bunch of new abilities that they come after you with. Oh. Who put that there?
What does it mean?
So, yes, what does it mean? It wasn't a double, though. It was just a single. It doesn't mean anything. This is the feedback we get. Normal's too easy. We get this from the beta feedback. We get this internally. I have people come to me every day and say, yeah, we know, it's early in the game. It's supposed to be easy. You don't understand, dude. It's way too easy. I remember Diablo 2, and Diablo 2 was not this easy. You're wrong. This is Diablo 2. Yeah. I think she's going to get hit in a second. Oh, no, he missed. Oh, she got hit. Okay. Oh, she took some damage. I think she's going to be okay, though. So, this is on purpose. Because early on, I know we're awesome. We're great at games. And because of that, if you're hardcore like we are, this stuff's too easy for you. But it doesn't really matter because, those of you who are in the beta, you're kind of trapped in the really low, kind of easy content. But you're going to blow past this so quick and get into the other difficulties. And, we're going to talk about that a little today. Our challenge as game developers is to try and make the game approachable for casual players, but still interesting for serious gamers, and build a game that's got depth. There's a really important point here. Hardcore games for everyone is what Blizzard does. It's what we've always done. So one of the things that people say to us is the game feels really, really easy in the early game. Are you just making the game for casual players now? And we say, no, we're making the early game for casual players because we want to turn them into hardcore players. And because we do that is why we have so many wonderful people here today. And that's what we're going to keep doing. Thank you. That being said, I'm sure some of you are going, yeah, but come on, is it really hard? Like, how hard is it? It's not really hard, is it? You got soft. It's not that hard. Well, you're not going to believe anything I say. I'm going to be like, yeah, it's super hard, whatever. So one of the things we asked some of the guys on the team to do, we got a whole bunch of people on the team who are playing the harder difficulties now, and we've asked them to, do a little bit of a testimonial so you guys can see how hard the game really is.
So you've got normal difficulty, you've got nightmare, hell, and inferno.
Normal mode was pretty casual. It was very fun, you know, you're one-clicking, you know, having laughs. Once you get into like nightmare mode, it starts kind of turning into all business. You're like, whoa, 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 like that thing just killed me. The game really starts, for me anyway, at night.